The topic of tonight's program is Herbs in the Garden. I'm Timothy Daly, County Extension Agent with the University of Georgia Extension here in Gwinnett County. And we're going to be talking about herbs and ways to grow and use them. Since prehistoric time, herbs have been used for food and medicine. Today, they are perhaps known for their contribution to good living, to season food, to provide pleasant fragrance, or to even add interest to the garden and beautify the landscape. Many modern medicines include plant chemicals, either natural or synthesized. Though many garden plant herbs prefer well-drained, loamy soil, they do well in average soil as well. They prefer a pH to 6 to 7, and though some, such as rosemary and lavender, prefer a more alkaline soil closer to 7. Our soils may need the addition of dolomitic lime, and have your soil tested through UGA Extension Gwinnett in order to find out what your pH is. Herbs require only moderate fertilizing. A soil test will give you recommended amounts of lime and fertilizer. Herbs such as basil, chives, and parsley require more fertilization if they are heavily harvested. Because many herbs are perennials, prepare the soil well before initial planting by tilling in well-rotted manure, compost, or topsoil. Before planting the herb bed, work the soil to a depth of 1 foot or more, breaking up clods and adding organic matter if the soil is heavy and clay or sandy. Like most vegetables, herbs generally require 6 hours of sunlight minimum per day. Commercial potting soil works well for herbs planted in containers. Herb gardeners generally agree that raised beds help herbs flourish. They provide good drainage and warmer soil temperatures, as well as workable options for the gardeners with poor soil or difficult landscape problems. Raised beds can be contained by rock, landscape timbers, lumber, and rocks, and so forth, like cinder blocks as well. The soil in there, there's many different types of soil mixtures you can use, but it needs to be mixed in with the existing soil. Since it's above ground, it is more likely to dry out, so constant monitoring for water is essential. Here is a traditional knot garden that used to exist at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens. It is no longer there. This illustrates a very traditional use of herbs. However, knot gardens, which loads uniform plants such as germander and santolina, can be difficult to grow and usually require considerable maintenance. The herb garden by itself or combined in a cottage garden can be a source of craft material, natural medicines, and culinary seasonings. Herbs can be featured in the landscape. Herbs in decorative pots and can be placed out in a garden. Can be grown where growing them in the garden is out of the question. Culinary herbs in containers can be near the kitchen or grill. They can move easily to the sun or otherwise shade areas. Herbs grow well in urns, hanging baskets, and other containers as long as the light, moisture, fertility requirements are met. Usually use a light quality, lightweight artificial soil, not garden soil, for container grown herbs. Because container grown herbs do not have access to surrounding soils, they are more likely to dry out quickly and must be watered regularly, even daily. Containers should have drainage holes so excess water can escape. Regularly empty water into saucers under containers to prevent roots from deteriorating. The standing water may also provide a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Light, uniform, and monthly fertilizations keep herbs lush, but must be carefully to avoid fertilizer salt buildups. Water containers sufficiently so the water runs through the bottom of the holes in the container. Window boxes such as these featuring rosemary standards, an old world charm to both modern and traditional style homes. A word of caution, window boxes, just like containers and raised beds, need to be monitored for water, as they will need to be water turned more frequently. Many varieties of herbs offer endless possibilities for landscapes that may be combined with annual or perennial flowers. The following groups emphasize particular herb characteristics just to help you begin to visualize herbs in your landscape. While many of these herbs have culinary use, remember it is best to grow herbs for consumption in separate areas to avoid injury or contamination from regular landscape maintenance or other activities. Many herbs are among the easiest plants to grow, while most require at least average soil moisture and light. Once established, herbs are self-maintaining, adapting well to landscape, water conservation, landscaping, known as xeriscape, street plantings, high traffic areas, and other urban conditions. We're going to cover these following herbs are grown for scent and decoration, or not used for consumption. Hyssop is a compact shrubby perennial plant that grows 18 to 24 inches high. It has dark, glossy leaves with a pungent aroma and a resinous taste. Grow in full sun and well-drained soil. An attractive perennial border plant with small, dark green leaves, hyssop bears pink, white, or blue flowers in the spring. Hyssops prefer a sandy soil or at least well-drained soil and plenty of sun. It is propagated through divisions, cuttings, or seeds. The spicy scent of both its flowers and leaves are used in potpourris. Artemisia are noted for their gray-green foliage or silver foliage, either ferny or slightly cut leaves. Of the numerous species, southernwood and wormwood are the most popularly grown southern herbs. Artemisias favor full sun, tolerate shade, and soil with some clay. As perennials, they can grow woody and leggy and should be trimmed back every spring and divided every 2 to 3 years. They're particularly decorative in the garden, in contrast among other colors and greens of plants. Feverfew is a species of chrysanthemums that has highly fragrant flowers and leaves, and it needs full sun and is used for fragrance, dyes, and crafts. Cosmary is another chrysanthemum type of flower, provides pockets of dark green, functional, and small spaces as ground covers. Because it is used as fragrant markers in Bibles, it is known as a Bible leaf. Because it was a midsummer bloomer with small yellow flowers, it produces long, oblong, fragrant leaves which tend to look scraggly as the season progresses. And it is related to the feverfew. It'll spread, though not invasively, through underground rhizomes that should be divided after 2 or 3 years. Lavender comes from the Latin word lavare, meaning to wash. It is still used today to perfume, bath, and cosmetic products. Grown from seed, which can be slow to germinate cuttings, it's one of the most popular plants in the herb garden. The tallest species, and probably best known, is English lavender, and is one of many species. Spanish lavender and French lavender are also grown. They require a full sun and well-drained soil. Some growers recommend growing lavenders on mounds to ensure good drainage. Winter hardy and milder climates, lavender produces gray or pale purple to blue flowers and strongly scented needle-like, gray-like leaves. Even woody stems are fragrant. Numerous scented geranium cultivars are found within the genus Pelargonium. The scented geraniums are named by their scent, commonly named by their scents: coconut, rose, peppermint, nutmeg, apple, cinnamon, and combinations such as lemon, rose, and others. Most varieties produce small, attractive flowers and leaves that are fragrant when touched. Some have multicolored leaves. While most are compact, some grow 2 feet tall. The excellent container plants, and like the regular geranium, are not cold hardy. They need to be planted in containers so they can move indoors. They will grow in sun or partial shade and prefer sandy to loamy soil and minimal watering. Prune occasionally to discourage legginess, and they can be propagated through cuttings. Sweet woodruff is a favorite herb for shade and makes an attractive ground cover. It can be recognized by its narrow, bright green leaves with successive star-like whorls. It is a perennial herb, about 6 to 8 inches tall. It does not have fragrance unless crushed. When it releases a sweet, pleasant odor, reminiscent of fresh hay. Lemon verbena is one of the most fragrant of herbs. Though a perennial, it is among the last to leaf out in the spring. Older plants tend to become woody, adding interesting shapes to the perennial border. Lemon verbena can be used as a specimen plant. It is one of the most fragrant herbs and very attractive in the landscape. Tansy is a tall perennial with fern-like foliage and producing yellow button flowers in summer. It grows in full sun and is spread by means of underground rhizomes. Because of its pungent scent, it is sometimes used as insect repellent. Both leaves and flower are useful in fresh or dry arrangements. Should not be consumed because the plant parts are toxic if ingested. Tarragon is a perennial fragrant herbaceous perennial. Leaves are silvery green, alternate, finely divided, and in blunt yellow narrow segments with silver hairs on both sides. Flowers small, drooping greenish yellows. Is used in sauces, salads, soups, omelets, and other dishes. Needs full sun. We're going to talk about culinary uses for herbs, our next section. Mountain mint is found in abundance in the Appalachian mountain areas, as well as in the Piedmont in our area. It is a mint that is a fragrant that can tolerate shade, 2 to 3 inches tall, develops gray-green leaves and ends of its branches with teeny greenish flowers at the tip. The plant appears from a distance to have branches ending in white blooms. It is popular with bees and pollinators. Mountain mint needs pruning at least once per summer to control its tendency to grow leggy. Also, mountain mints attract and provides food for beneficial wasps that are parasitic to numerous garden pests. Oregano at times can be invasive. It is spreading by means of underground rhizomes. There are several kinds of oregano, including Greek oregano, Italian oregano, golden oregano. Cuban oregano and Mexican oregano belong to different genera of plants but have similar flavors. It is used in Mexican, Italian, and Greek cuisine, imparting a complex flavor. The leaves of culinary oregano are slightly fuzzy. Small flowers are pink or white. The lavender-flowered ornamental oregano has little flavor. Sweet marjoram is considered by many botanists to be the same as it's closely related to oregano. A tender perennial, it can be propagated by division or by seeds. It stems from woody growth with age, and the plant may be pruned back once or twice to promote new growth. Thyme is a versatile landscape plant. English thyme, the most common, has fine leaves and slightly woody stems. However, there are nearly 400 different varieties of thyme. The most popular varieties grown in the South are lemon thyme, caraway thyme, golden thyme, and mother of thyme. Creeping thyme makes an excellent ground cover alone or between stepping stones or spreading plant for the garden wall. Thyme is propagated most successfully by root division, layering, or cutting. Older thyme plants develop a woody center and should be cut back. Another picture of thyme, very easy herb to grow. There are two basic types of parsley, curled and flat-leafed Italian parsley. It can be directly seeded, though germination takes 2 to 3 weeks. Parsley, a biennial requires unfailing moisture for continuous growth. Its biennial means that it produces vegetative growth one year and produces flower and seeds the following year. And then its growth cycle is completed. It needs to be kept moist. The soil needs to be kept moist, evenly moist, so a little mulch might help. It grows well in both containers and in landscape beds during winters in the deep south. Lemongrass is an Asian plant has long, thin gray-green leaves and adds a versatile, graceful vertical line to the landscape. Citral, an essential oil found in lemon peels, gives lemongrass its sour lemon flavor and fragrance. It is an annual, although it can survive winters in the South Georgia and Florida. Should be cut back at. Rosemary is a very popular herb and is native to the Mediterranean area. It likes full sun, and is drought resistance after it is established. It needs to have good drainage. It is an attractive shrubby perennial that can reach 3 to 5 feet tall. Some varieties are prolific bloomers, showing many different small purple or white blossoms. There are numerous varieties of rosemary, including several prostrate varieties useful in landscapes or pots. It can also be trained as a topiary. They make attractive small shrubs or sort of a combination ground cover shrub in the landscape. Common sage, which is a salvia, has attractive gray-green wrinkled leaves and lavender foliage. As it matures, sage grows woody stems and becomes bush-like. Once sage is established, it does well on rainfall alone and demands, but has to have well-drained soil. And they're very attractive and easy to grow in the landscape. There are several different varieties of sages, including golden sage, bicolor, tricolor sages, offering considerable variety for the landscape. Older sage plants with their convoluted woody stems may be considered unsightly or artistic, depending on your point of view, and pruning encourages new growth. Nasturtiums are flowering annuals, although further south they can be perennials. They need to have good soil with good drainage and sandy and full sun. They're trailing forms. They seed directly into the ground since it does not transplant well. It has a peppery taste, both the flower and the leaves, and used in many dishes. Catnip is a perennial that grows 2 to 3 feet in height and needs full sun and good drainage. It has lavender to light blue flowers, and the aroma is said to make cats playful. Thus, it's named catnip. One of the most popular herbs in the world is basil. It is an annual that should be planted when frost is no longer a danger. So that's something you have to take into consideration. It can be grown indoors during the winter. There's many different types of basil available, including wide-leaf sweet basil, lemon basil, Thai basil, globe basil, and on to the right, the purple basil, the purple leaf basil. Purple leaf basil especially produces seed and reseeds itself, so it comes back every year, and sometimes it can become weedy. Needs full sun and well-drained soils. This is a picture of basil in flower. It's best to pinch it back and the flowers off to prevent plants from going to seed. Once plant flowers, the stems begin to grow woody and the plant begins to decline. And again, it's an annual. It doesn't survive our cold weather, and should be, if you it can be kept in pots and brought indoors during the cold weather. Chives are a member of the onion family that are very easy to grow. They are easily propagated by division, each plant containing 10 or so little bulbs. To flourish, chives require regular fertilizing with a balanced fertilizer. It is a member of the onion family. Chives is a perennial that bears lovely, attractive edible flowers in late spring. They're easily propagated by division. Their mild flavor is excellent in egg, cheese, meat, vegetable dishes, as well as on sour cream, on top of sour cream on the standard baked potato. Garlic chives are closely related, have white flowers in late summer. Garlic chives are usually taller, but has less showy flower, less showy than the pink flower chives. Dill is an annual plant. It produces umbel-shaped inflorescences, which produce the dill seed. It requires full sun but tolerates dry soil. A close relative is fennel, which is a biennial or perennial. Both has culinary and landscape uses. There are several types: the familiar green feathery sweet fennel, bronze fennel with maroon new growth, and Florence fennel or finocchio with a large stalk base. Fennel and dill, along with parsley, are excellent to plant to attract those beneficial wasps that are very small. They don't sting people, but they parasitize caterpillars and other pestiferous insects in the garden. The fennel can attract the caterpillar of the swallowtail butterfly. Coriander, cilantro. Cilantro refers to the leaves of the plant, sometimes called parsley, where if it's grown for seeds, it's called coriander. The mature leaves are feathery and the young leaves are dentate. Leaves are looked for cooking. Cilantro does not transplant well and should be direct seeded in fertile soils for continuous harvesting. It will tolerate full sun or partial shade, though summer heat and humidity make it somewhat difficult to grow through the summer. You may want to put that in a slightly shaded area, but I know I personally have had trouble growing this. But this mint is very easy to grow once it's established. It encompasses many different types. The most common which are peppermint, spearmint, and sweet mint. They are distinguished by their square stems. Peppermint has a black stem. Other mints include orange, apple, lemon, and even chocolate mint. Mint doesn't come true from seed and should be grown from cuttings or root division. They require regular moisture and will grow in partial shade. Be aware that it is invasive and it must be checked in garden, and you have to prune it to keep it from getting into everything. Mint is, again, once it's established, it's very easy to grow, highly fragrant leaves, must for any garden. This is a picture of spearmint out of my garden. Herbs are generally resistant to pests, and diseases. Through thorough soil preparation, good cultivation practices, adequate watering, good drainage will keep most herbs growing well and trouble-free. If the herbs being grown for consumption, chemical sprays and dust should not be used unless it's labeled for food crops. Organic materials such as BC, Bacillus thuringiensis, which targets caterpillar pests, insecticidal soaps are good to use. I know insecticidal soaps, I've had some issues with spider mites on my oregano. I sprayed that on there that has helped reduce their populations. Do remember that Identify the caterpillars before harming them. The black swallow tail caterpillar pictured here is found on dill, fennel, parsley, and related plants. It feeds on these plants. Many gardens, dill and parsley are planted especially to support this butterfly. Diseases. Most herbs are not troubled by diseases. However, rosemary needs to, if it doesn't get good drainage, it will get root rot disease. And other herbs can sometimes get diseases on occasions. Best to trim out those disease and infected areas. Storing herbs in airtight containers. They need to be labeled. Don't break up the leaves and place in a cool, dry place. You can hang herbs like this. And that one on the right in a bag is for the seeds. This is from a lavender farm. There's a lady down in Walton County that's growing lavender. And you can see them being hung up to dry. There's looks like hyssop on a sheet or on a table right there to dry out the leaves. So it's many different uses of herbs. I'm going to show you some pictures. Here they are in jars, dried, labeled. So an herb garden. This is at the train depot at Emory University. That's been used as a restaurant. That campus has been under construction continually, so I don't think this garden is here anymore. There's another picture of it. You can see growing on by the sidewalk is thyme, by the wooden steps appears to be some type of Cynogerania. If you look back a little bit, the red flowers are Monarda or bee balm. Here's a garden, an herb garden. This is at the Chatham County Gardens in Savannah. This is at the State Botanical Gardens in Athens. And this is interesting at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens. They got walls of herbs, herb walls. This is where herbs are being grown at the Bonnie Plant Farm in Union Springs, Alabama. I took a field trip down there a few years ago. And I had a great experience. Bonnie Plant, they grow vegetables and herbs, and they have a contract with Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart. The Union Springs, Alabama, which is about 50 miles southeast of Montgomery, Alabama, is their main headquarters, but they have 40 different growing locations around the country. It's another picture of them. It looks like sweet mint. That's all I have tonight. This is my email and contact information. If you have any questions, feel free to email or call me, and I will be glad to answer them. Thank you very much for joining this presentation.